All right.
All right, here is the first inaugural episode of Exodus Americanus. I have with me the beautiful Roscoe, and I am Stone.
Oh,
And what are we talking about first today? I think
oh shit.
supply and demand
All
between
right. So,
populations and/or demographics.
okay. So this is an idea that's sort of been kicking around in my mind a little bit, and I don't want to get too personal with you, but do you have any brothers or sisters?
I do. I
How
have
many?
both.
You have a
One of
brother and a
each.
sister.
Younger, both.
Okay. I've got a sister. So, yeah, your parents, three. That's replacement birth rates. Good on them. Like, what size families did your parents come from?
My mom was one of seven, and my dad was one of three.
Okay. So your dad's parents were, sort of underachievers for their
Com-
demographic.
compared to my mother,
Yeah.
or my mother's family.
Like my dad is one of eight, and my mom is one of six. And it's sort of interesting. If you were to talk to your parents, one of the big things that was pushed on them when they were, sort of our age, that entering, having a family and everything, they were told, can't have more than two kids, or we'll overpopulate the earth and we'll all fucking die.
Yeah, kind of like China.
Right? Of course, it was a soft, sort of cultural enforcement of that norm. It wasn't any like overt state action or anything. But now, I'm sure you know about the UN. Their big idea, like, oh fuck, all these Western nations, they're not achieving replacement birth rates. We've got to bring in all these Arabs and Beaners and whatnot.
I get
Like,
where
I
you're going. I completely understand where you're going with this, and yeah, it's absolutely correct. Even as during the 50s, 60s, and 70s, when our parents were growing up, food production in the United States alone was doubling, tripling, quadrupling in capacity.
and even still at that time, our parents, not so much, our grandparents definitely, they were growing food on their property. They were producing some food for themselves.
Yeah.
That's an aside, by the way. So,
Oh, yeah, unless they lived in a major urban environment, they had at least some sustenance growth on their own land.
fucking something. But, like I said, that's an aside. But, I don't see China. I don't really see China. Well, not China. Sorry, I mean Japan. I don't see Japan. Despite their low birth rates, they're not importing all kinds of people. One of my thoughts of other than it's kind of ridiculous. You look at the amount that our generation has really been pushed. Like, don't have kids until you're ready. Don't have kids until you're mature enough. Are you sure you want kids? That's a lot of work. Like, how many reasons have you heard like you shouldn't have kids?
A million. I mean, you
Yeah,
hear it. You hear it
and
every day. I mean, you watch a show like fuck, what did I just watch on Thanksgiving? I think it was like Modern Family or something stupid like
oh
that.
God,
I was forced to watch over at the in-laws, and yeah, it was
uh,
something stupid about that, and it was you don't have kids until you're ready. Don't do, and it's like, what did you do then? Like, how did every other generation of human survive if they didn't have kids until they were ready to have
and
kids? No one's ever ready to have kids.
exactly. And there's a really good article right now over, and I think it's Countercurrents. I'll double check right now, that sort of talks about like we've got to get away from that idea of like don't have kids until you're whatever. Yeah, it's a Greg Johnson article. Maybe we can post it with this or whatever. I'll make sure that I send it to you to look at.
Hmm.
That's it's really really good. It's sort of tangentially related to where I'm going with this. But other than all the cultural things that they do to sort of encourage us, and by us I mean Anglo Americans, to encourage us, to have low breeding rates. But I guess my general idea, they're doing more overt pressure on us because of, our tax burdens and our other heavy financial burdens, and they're sort of subsidizing people, you know, all these immigrants that come in, that it's not really a big deal to have 7 or 8 kids if the government's going to pay for every single fucking one of them.
Yeah,
So,
I get that. Yeah, like what he's saying in the article is the what number 2 point is the financial fallacy,
mhm.
and when the government is subsidizing one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8 kids plus,
Of course they're going to outbreed you.
yeah, and they're going to outbreed you. And the thing is that what they're not also saying to you is each kid you have for yourself is marginally less in cost to you.
Hmm.
I mean, it's cheaper to feed a family of 4 than it is to feed a family of 2, and it just keeps going on. I mean, you can buy, obviously, it's cheaper to buy in bulk for things, and your housing costs don't get any more expensive. Your electricity rates, your water rate might go up a little bit, but those are comparatively cheap to what your rent or your mortgage is.
Right. So, we've sort of established this idea now, going forward in our conversation, that economically and through taxation, they are limiting our ability to reproduce.
Yeah, and it's perpetuated by the media.
Right. And, because we're not reproducing, we've got to bring in all these people to make you a minority in the nation that your forefathers built. So, shut up and go along with it. Like, okay, hold on a second. So let's go back to the Industrial Revolution. Specifically, let's look at Europe and what led to the creation of the middle class. Luckily, we had the Black Plague that killed off a shit ton of the labor. At the Industrial Revolution, sort of added quite a bit of value to people's labor, and that's a great 1-2 punch. All of a sudden, what do we got? We've got demand for basic bitch labor. Guess what that lends itself to? That sudden economic prosperity. Lo and behold, they be making the babies. So is that just the natural progression? Birth rates start to fall because of and I guess being too comfortable in your society or whatever. But once the population falls a certain amount, the labor goes back in demand. People start having that financial equity to really have a large family again. And the birth rate problem solved.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. And I get what you're saying with that because now, I mean, back then you couldn't just import labor, and now you can. I mean, if you wanted to import, uh, I mean, obviously back then, if you wanted to import black people, it was going to be slaves, and that's, I mean, obviously I'm not condoning slavery here, but that's what you did back then, and now you can just, pay for some H-1B visas and fly some Indians or Pakistanis over and
Oh
have them work
God.
for. Or even with the internet, you don't even have to fly them over. You can do it. You can do it overseas.
Well, if you're Disney, you've got to fly them over so
Their
the
replacements can train
Americans
them.
can train them. Jesus.
Yeah, I sent you that. I sent you that lawsuit thing though.
You did. You did.
That was
That makes me
from
happy.
IT workers, and I hope that spreads to the rank and file of
Hmm.
the regular Disney workers. And I can understand how Disney wants to have a more international workforce, but
Why?
well, it's an international company, and a lot of their tourism is coming from overseas. So I can see why they want to fly some
Yeah,
or
the
hire
tourists
some
want.
foreign labor in, but replacing your entire workforce is
Well,
not the answer.
of course, people want to come in and see. What has made the most money for Disney? The retelling of classic European folklore.
And ESPN.
Oh Jesus, they've made guarantee they've made a shit ton of money off the new Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, well.
So many shekels. The part that makes me sad as a comic book reader is the vertical integration, where they're trying to make sure that everything looks exactly the same, whether that everything's familiar, whether you see it in a cartoon or a comic or the movies. And I just put my face in my hands, and I'm like, like we've seen we've we've looked at this from every possible angle, and we know at this point, the movies don't increase comic sales.
No.
Like
No, and
what?
I can understand having the cartoons reflect the movies because you're trying to get the kids to watch the movies and buy the movies and buy the toys, which are always going to be tied back into the TV
Hmm. Well, I mean,
rather than the movies. But the comics should always be telling things that you can't tell on, on the screen.
a well done comic book does things that you can't do in movies, that you can't do, just in straight literature. And I mean, yeah, there's a lot of shit out there. But you look at, let me think of a good example. As far as new stuff, there's a new series out, that Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, and they do stuff like with sort of time travel and interdimensional stuff, like with the art and the narrative. There's just no way that you could clearly and cognizantly translate that into any other medium.
No.
It's rare that you find something in comics that has that level of quote unquote artsiness.
Well, comics also offers the ability to, jump between like even time periods and
Hmm.
narratives without confusing the reader, just because it's a static image, and you can tell. I think you could tell a lot more of your narrative with a static image than you can with
A
a
moving
video.
image.
Yeah.
Well, if have you ever read Watchmen?
No. I saw
If
that terrible movie.
I'm glad that you thought the movie was terrible. The comic book had some really, really strong ideas.
That's what I heard, and
The thing
I
that
did.
made me the angriest about it, like in the comic book, there's like one or two fight scenes, and this is all set against the height of Cold War drama. Like we're 2 minutes to midnight through this whole thing, and the only time that that sort of pedestrian level of violence was ever shown, it was showing how in the atomic age, like your petty little squabbles mean next to nothing, maybe even less than nothing.
I mean,
But
hasn't that always been throughout history?
well, yeah, but it was such a clear and like it was very well done in the comics, and they just abandoned like any sort of message like that in the movie, and just had all kinds of like over the top like super violence.
Yeah.
Time and a place. Like the Hitman movie was absolutely not Hitman, Kick-Ass. Kick-Ass was retarded, but so was the book it was based on. Like we're
I never read the book. I only saw like half the movie, and it looked so dumb that
when old boy flew in on a jetpack that was obviously made out of the tubing from a dryer exhaust. Like that's when I had to tap out. I'd been struggling for a hot minute, but at that point I was like, dude, I can't. I, I just can't even.
can't even.
It's it's the current year, and I just can't even.
Uh,
Did you watch any college football games today?
I watched the Louisville Kentucky game,
Oh
but
man,
then I took a nap after that, so I only got highlights of every other game.
that's sort of where I was. One of the it's always interesting to see just how bad the SEC mauls itself.
I mean,
But
I think Kentucky went this year what 4-1, and then lost 1-5. Or they went 1-5 for the last games, or 1-6, I guess, maybe, I don't know. And they got kicked out of a bowl game by Louisville again.
oh god, like, do you really want that game at the end of the year if you're either of those fan bases? I mean,
I can see where it's from a Louisville game or a Louisville team, because they've won, I think, 5 in a row now,
mhm.
and I mean that's 2 years in a row that they've or kept Kentucky out of a bowl game. I think it's been like since like 2009 or 10 since Kentucky's been to a bowl game. So I mean, Stoops is going to be out of a job, I believe.
At
But
some
yeah, if you're the
point,
SEC, it's bad when you're South Carolina and your coach leaves after like the second or third game, and then you have a chance to beat your your cross-state rival at home, and they're number one in the nation, and you still fucking blow it.
Oh
I mean,
man.
I know you finished what did I finish? Let me see, 3-9.
Wait, hold on. Didn't Tell me if I'm wrong, but didn't South Carolina lose to Citadel?
Yeah, last week.
Alrighty, I'm not on crazy pills. It's
Yeah,
what?
yeah, they lost 23-22 at home to
Wow,
Citadel. Yeah, they
wow.
lost their last 5 in a row. They lost at A&M 35-28. They lost at Tennessee. I don't know how anybody doesn't beat Tennessee.
I don't know why I mentioned the SEC, because the real point that I wanted to make was, did you watch Bears and Packers on
Uh,
Thanksgiving?
I did not. I watched the I didn't watch the Detroit Eagles game. I watched the Cowboys Panthers game, and as soon as I don't know if you saw that. As soon as Romo started scrambling back, I said he's gonna get his collarbone broke on this, and he fucking
Oh,
did.
my clavicle.
And if you are nursing a left collarbone injury, why do you turn and fall on your left collarbone?
Well, so the the thing that stood out to me, like the weirdest thing, like the entire day, I'm watching that Bears and Packers. Packers punt it to the Bears, and the Bears kick returner. For a long time, they had the best kick returner in football. Was it Hester? Was that his name?
Devin Hester.
Yeah. But the guy returning for him, I can't remember his name, but it was a little white guy. So the Bears go 3-and-out, and they punt it to the Packers, and their kick returner is another white guy. I mean, as anybody that's watched football for a decade or more, like, you sort of realize like how much of an aberration it is to see a white player in that role.
Yeah.
And shit. Last couple years, I sort of felt like there's an argument to make that Jordy Nelson was the best downfield threat in football.
I can understand that.
I mean, I'm not saying that that's the 100% gospel or whatever, but to think that a white guy could be as dominant at that position as Jordy Nelson has been. You look at the productivity of a Wes Welker, a Danny Woodhead, a Danny Amendola, a Julian Edelman. I
Tyler
mean,
Eifert.
right?
Gronk.
I mean,
Well, if we're gonna go to tight end position, I guess then
Zach Miller.
I would say most tight ends are white.
If you
I
don't
mean, they're part of the offensive line.
if you
They're just
cannot block
eligible
as a tight
receivers.
end, if you are a tight end that is incapable of blocking, you are not a tight end. You're just a wide receiver.
Yeah, Gronk.
Gronk, like it was
He is the definition of an aberration.
mm,
He is a wide receiver in the tight end's body.
Gronk, it was funny watching them against the Giants. They had to start dropping him into protection because he's the only dude on the field that could handle Jason Pierre-Paul.
I didn't
Nobody
even I didn't even watch that game. I didn't even know Jason Pierre-Paul was even fucking playing anymore. I mean, obviously you don't need all your fingers to play
Oh, dude.
to play defense unless you're going to be a safety.
A
But
few years ago, I was managing a fireworks store over a summer, like during the 4th of July holiday. And I played with a lot of explosives that summer, like a lot. And I still got on my hands, dude. Like got on my fingers and shit.
did you?
Everything's
I don't know if you saw. It was Pierre-Paul's neighbor, and he was like, "Oh, Jason Pierre-Paul just pulled up with a truck full of fireworks." And like literally there's like a picture and it's like an entire back of like a U-Haul filled with fireworks, and then like 3 hours later he's mysteriously missing all of his hand.
dude, like that picture was some intense gore.
Oh yeah.
But I think
I feel bad for the guy. I understand that accidents happen and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, but
come on, dude, you got to be careful.
yeah.
I
I've
mean,
almost had some accidents with some fireworks. One time when I was a kid, I had it was like the first firework I ever had that was an actual like rocket. It had like the plastic, like the four plastic pegs that sit on the ground, and it was in the shape of a rocket.
all right.
and I go to light it, and I was like, man, this thing has a little fuse. And I was like, all right, I'll just stand by, but I couldn't see it, so I had to get real close. And I lit it, and as soon as I hit, I had a long like a grill lighter, one of the ones with the long necks.
All right, that's good thinking.
Yeah, good thinking. And so I go to light it, and as soon as I light it, the wind blows, and it blows literally right at the very bottom of the rocket. I mean, this fuse couldn't have been more than an inch and a half long. And luckily, I made a smartest decision to roll over, and I just felt the sparks go up right up the side of my face. And yeah, luckily it went up in the air and then exploded right there, because I probably would have been dead. Like that one jackass who, did you see him put the mortar on top of his head?
Yep.
And his brother said, yeah, there wasn't much of him left.
Yeah. I discovered to learn at a pretty young age that the Greenwicks, you could still throw those fireworks into the water and they'd go off.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Was that not the best thing ever?
Oh yeah, we used to fill up water bottles, and then light them and screw the top on and throw them.
I grew up in a super rural area, so it was no problem for me to just wander off into the woods and find like a creek or something to turn into the ultimate GI Joe battleground.
Yeah. We didn't have creeks where I live. I mean, you did, but that was like a mile away.
Yeah.
That's way too far to walk.
Oh man, it was so sweet. Like literally just across the street from my house, it was probably 200 or 300 acres of just woods. And growing up in Appalachia in the '80s, that meant that I could go play in the woods. Anyway, I love how quickly we can deviate off topics or whatever.
Yeah. Do you want to get back to our original?
No, well, I feel like we sort of got to a point where we made some sense on that. If you look at the population as a supply and demand as far as from labor,
yeah,
like most free market things, that'll straighten itself out. Well, free market.
Yeah, as much as it is.
Right. The perfect free market, I've got to be honest. It's kind of like a lot of the defenses for the free market are a lot of the defenses for communism. We've never seen real communism. We don't know if it works or not.
Yeah, well, I would posit that we've seen partial communism, and it results in millions of deaths. And we've seen partial capitalism has been the biggest lifter of people out of poverty than any other socioeconomic activity in history. So we got millions of deaths versus lots of people not being poor.
Right, and I sort of want to raise my hand and ask, like, wait a minute, if what did Stalin get up to? Like 8 million, 6 million?
Oh, I think it was like 14 or something like that.
Oh wow! But
let me do a quick Google search right now while you're talking.
But if he couldn't implement full communism, he got up to that much of a high score. It's almost how many people would have been killed if he had mastered
Jesus
communism?
Christ, we were way off.
65.
Whoever this dude is, Dyadkin estimated the USSR suffered 56 to 62 million unnatural deaths during the period, with 34 to 49 million directly linked to Stalin.
Wow.
I don't know who this guy is, but it's the first. If you just Google Stalin death toll, I mean, we'll go to Wikipedia and see. I mean, there should just be anytime there's a dictator, like an oppressive dictator, there should be a column Wikipedia just says death toll. It should just be like a clock.
Oh man, like the what is it? Some donut store that has like how many they've served, and it's just constantly going up.
Like Krispy Kreme or something like
right?
that.
But holy shit, he got 65 million people killed with a failed system.
And the best part is Stalin at age 23 looks like a modern hipster. Have you seen him?
Yes. Oh man.
But then Stalin, I don't know how old he is in he's like 1917. So let's see, when was he born? He was born in. You have all your shit backwards. 1878. So in 1917, he was 22,
And he looks like a fag.
39. Oh my god, he looks like a pedophile. I mean, look at that mustache.
Wait, what was he before he went into politics? I know Hitler was a painter. Was it Mao or Stalin that was a poet?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah,
He had 2 adjoined toes, and his face was permanently scarred by smallpox.
Ah, man, that sucks. And by the way, it was Mao Zedong that was the poet.
Well,
Oh man, that's
yeah.
what we should do for one of
You know
our
what they say?
episodes.
Once a poet, always a massive death toll.
I'm trying to see how many people
say that, right?
Oh, well, I think they should now, obviously.
I mean, because obviously, if one guy with Republican leaning shoots up a Planned Parenthood, then all people with right wing leaning shoot up a Planned Parenthood.
Oh man, I just found a. Let's see the website.
I think Stalin was just a fuck up.
Well, it's kind of funny. I've heard stories about how Stalin, like even within his own inner party and trusted ears, he didn't refer to it as communism. He referred to it as state capitalism.
That's a.
That's some dirty shit right there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like some pretty extreme.
Woodford is clouding my mind right now. But what's the word that it's the opposite of what it says? Like it's
Hold on. Where's our producer when we fucking need somebody to help us out? Like our producer is the sober one. Anyway.
Air mic's on now. What's the word? It's the opposite of what it means.
Antonym?
No, not an antonym.
I was only halfway listening. I'm sorry.
All right, you can fuck back off now, Mrs. Producer. Anyway, so do you ever sort of get just incredulous when you hear people trying to argue like for socialism or whatever? It's like, have you ever read a book?
I mean, even a leftist textbook. Like when you were growing up, there were. I mean, at least what I remember growing up in the '90s, it was always communism sucks, socialism sucks. It's never worked. And now I don't know what they're doing with this Common Core shit, which should be a topic for a different episode.
All I've got to say is I live in a state that rejected Common Core.
What now?
I live in a state that rejected Common Core.
I don't.
Ah, that's boners.
I don't live in a state though.
Ba ba ba.
But anyways.
Go on.
I lost what I was
Oh no. Oh shit, hold on.
It was good. You interrupted me.
I did. My bad.
It's alright.
Hold on. We were at a Commonwealth.
Before that.
Well shit, I never even really got to the whole reason I brought up football was because I thought it was pretty interesting that the gap between white and black athletes, in my opinion, seems to be closing quite rapidly.
Well, I can understand that, but I'll also posit the surgence of black quarterbacks. Counter with that. I mean, look at somebody like Cam Newton, who, I mean, he's not the best quarterback. I mean, obviously that title would go to Tom Brady by far and away. No one would ever argue with you on that. But Cam Newton might have more control of the game than Tom Brady might.
I will say that as a he's not even the quarterback position isn't even the same when you put Cam Newton there. He's such a physical freak of nature.
Yeah, I mean, he might. I don't know if this is true, but he might be their number one running threat. I don't. That might not. He might not have the most yards, but he might have the most yards per average.
Just as just as a dude who loves measuring shit, I would love to have access to the NFL Combine facilities and have Cam Newton, Gronkowski, and LeBron James just run them through a few drills, have them do a few lifts. I would love to see how those three guys
I would take
test
LeBron
next
James
to each
out, and I
other.
would put in somebody like because LeBron is old now. I mean, he's
Well,
like 32, 31.
He's my age, you rat bastard son of a bitch.
He's a lot older than Cam Newton and Rob Gronkowski are.
Well, in
That's
my
not-
defense,
That's decades in sports.
right. In my defense, though, I've not had cable in 5 years, so I've not seen LeBron in like 5 years.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
So,
I think the
LeBron
best
5
player
years
right now.
ago.
I refuse to watch the NBA because I don't think that's basketball.
You mean you're white?
Sure. I mean, I am. You win that point. I am white.
Busted.
But-
This whole podcast has been
Yeah.
destroyed by your
You
whiteness.
destroyed my anonymity. But the Warriors right now, they are going for their 18th straight win, which is, I mean, I think 16 was a record to start off the season, and they are winning right now 101-76 with 9 minutes still to go. If you score 101 points in basically just 3 quarters, and you have by far and away the best basketball. I mean, Steph Curry is way
Dude's got a
beyond LeBron
shot.
James. He is way beyond LeBron James right now.
Steph Curry shot.
It was
Holy
beautiful
shit.
back when he was at Davidson. Back when we were in
Mhm.
school and we were like, oh my God, this kid is. I don't think they ever played Louisville, but I think they were a game away from playing Louisville one time.
Well, I mean, just like anybody else, I will tune into college basketball pretty hard for the NCAA playoffs. And
Well, yeah,
I guess-
It's on. Well, I guess now it's a lot on TBS and True TV, but a lot of it's just regular on, I think, ABC or something.
yeah, and I don't even.
CBS.
Like, the only time that I ever watch anything on cable is literally when I turn on a football game. Everything else is basically streaming. Gotta say, getting rid of cable, brilliant fucking idea.
Yeah, I pay DirecTV $115 a month just so
Mm.
my fiance can have a ABC Family.
Just so you can have destructive narratives piped into your home every day.
I don't have an argument with that.
Oh man, well, there's
But
there's times I want cable. I miss just putting on ESPN and vegging out and not realizing until late in the day that I've seen this iteration of SportsCenter 4 times.
6 times, yeah.
Oh my god. There was a time when I was coming out of high school and going into college. I went about a year and a half where I didn't miss a SportsCenter broadcast. Yeah,
It's a lot of Sports Center.
that's a man.
Well, did you
I
have
love
Keith Olbermann?
mm,
Was he gone to the
Good old
dark side
Keith.
by then?
I would like to. Oh, I didn't mention this earlier when we brought up Crowdhammer. I don't even know if that's going to make it into the podcast.
No, that was
we were
earlier.
talking. We were talking shit about Charles Crowdhammer. I would like to. I'd like to throw him down an elevator shaft. I don't know why, but recently.
Who? Krauthammer or
Oh,
Olbermann?
both of them. I don't know which one I want to throw down first.
I mean, you should probably throw down Olbermann first because you're not going to do any more damage to Krauthammer.
Crowdhammer gonna die.
I mean, you can't go limp when you're already limp.
God, Crowdhammer is. I mean, I think we should petition the White House. We should go to like change.gov. Is that where you can do those faggy petitions?
I think so.
Go
Or
start a
maybe it's-
petition.
Is it
Getting
change.gov or
disconnected from your
change.org?
channel.
We gotta make Crowdhammer change his name to Cuckhammer. Because
I'll start it right now.
all right,
No,
that's what I'm
not gonna
talking
do that.
about. Look it up.
This website's way too complex because as soon as I clicked on it, it went to whitehouse.gov, and I refuse.
Dude, you've got to be the change that you want to see in the world.
I refuse to navigate an Arab interviewing Barack Obama.
That sounds like pure hell on earth.
Yeah, that got an alt F4 and it closed down all my tabs real quick.
I think at this point, I think we're starting to ramble a little bit. We're both getting a little nice and drunk.
Yeah.
I think it might be time to put a pin in this bad boy and come back in a few days and do some more audio shit posting.
Sounds good to me.
Sir, take
All
her easy.
right.
I'll probably send you. I'll let you know who I was shit talking about that I told you I'd tell you about in the offline.
Oh.
The dude whose acid I stole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try to get up with you soon.
No, just stay on the line. I'm gonna shut down the posting here in just a minute after I go through our ending parts. So anyways,
I've got
thank you all for who may or may not be listening, considering this is our first attempt at a cast. This is Exodus Americanus with Roscoe and Stone. I hope you all enjoyed this as much as I think I have.
Oh man,
Roscoe, how about you?
Such a blast.
And we will try to make this at least once a week.
And
I would assume.
I kind of feel like it'll be pretty easy for us to at least put out one episode. I wouldn't be surprised if we were able to do a couple a week.
Yeah. One well researched one, and then one or two, just bullshit like we're doing tonight.
But what? Yeah. That's it. We're good.
Yeah. So thank you all for listening. This has been Exodus Americanus. Roscoe, you got any last things to say?
Nothing. I got nothing.
Nothing. All right. Well, everybody have a great night and fuck you.